Spitchy. Boomer shooters, also known as fun shooters, have come back in a big way recently. The game I want to look at in this video came out just as boomer shooters were starting to, boom.
Fuck.
And kind of fell through the cracks. Most people seem to find it by buying it in bundles with other games. It makes sense. The Citadel is what I can only really call an experimental game, but not in the way you might think of when you hear that word. As far as I can tell, the Citadel was made by one person, but it is shockingly well made in many ways. But to give you an idea of what I want to get at, the Steam page for this game plays heavily on the throwback nature of it, the most boomer of boomer shooters. But let me give you a few mechanics this game features. Leaning, manual reloading each individual bullet in chambered weapons, alternative fire modes, weapon upgrades, currency, sliding, ledge clambering, a stamina system that includes a food meter, and the ability to reload faster by discarding your magazine. The whole boomer shooter angle to the Citadel is just part of the puzzle. Don't get me wrong, it wears its influences on its sleeve. There's a whole level that's a recreation of a Wolfenstein 3D level, apparently. The booms shoot in this game, but there's so much more crammed in here from both newer FPS games and just all kinds of shit that it's hard to recommend based on its like Doom qualities alone. So we're gonna spitch on the Citadel. Make sure to go into the options here and set the FPS to at least 60. I didn't do that for the first hour of this game, and I don't know, it's weird. I can usually tell 30 from 60 pretty easily, and it felt like 60, but it'll look like the level doesn't render what you're seeing fast enough. So you'll see black outlines on your peripheral vision every time you turn. It doesn't show up in the recording that much, but if you played this before and you thought that was how it was supposed to be, it wasn't. It just defaults to 30 FPS for some reason, and it does weird things, whatever. It starts like a VR game. I've never played a VR game, but yeah, for a certain kind of person, this would be a really good one. You're given two paths to take, and I assume it's like Quake, where there are difficulty selections. I don't know why there's the difficulty selections in the options then, but whatever. I took this one. Cool. So this is the axe, and it's probably the only time you'll see it, because immediately after, I get a fucking piece. The Citadel. So in the first few levels, you might notice the game looking slower than it should be, and some black outlines whenever I turn. Yes, because of the FPS setting I talked about earlier, but I'm not going to go back and do them again because I have artistic integrity and I'm also really lazy. They'll go away soon, I promise. This is the tutorial level, basically. It tells you how to move and shoots the bad guys. I really like this pistol. It's a revolver, or a Magnum. Even though it doesn't really look like it, it packs a punch, but only has 6 shots. Actually 7, because you can put one in the chamber. Even has its own reload animation for doing that. Why the fuck did the developer do that? He didn't need to do that, but combined with having to press the reload button for every bullet, it makes this one of the most satisfying pistols I've ever used. You can go into iron sights with most guns, and they turn into silhouettes, with your sights being white to help aim. Not sure why they turn black, but it probably helps with visual recognition, I don't know. This white shit I'm picking up on the ground is money, but we ain't there yet. You can double jump, which is cool. This sounds like you're breaking the sound barrier when you do it. Also, you can slide and... These turrets are gonna kill you the first time you play this game, but you can just run past them. Also, this big mech will kill you the first time you play this game, but you just run past it too. and drop down the flesh hole. Flesh holes are kind of a big motif of this game. We'll get into it. The entrance is the hub area, and where I learned you can do a Duke kick, and then never did it again because I forgot the keybind. Hello? This is Lysander, and he's, indescribable, I guess. And that's kind of how I have to put the story of this game. It's like, okay, so you know how Marathon had like a deep but cryptic story told through text logs? It feels a lot like that, except without the text logs. As such, I really can't analyze the story myself beyond surface level, and when it comes to that, Lysander here tells us just about everything I know in these 3 paragraphs. We are the Martyr, called here presumably to a place that could possibly be described as a citadel to destroy something called the Sleeping God. All the soldiers we just fought through are actually described as our allies under control of this god. Lysander damage and vulnerabilities out, and behind him we find Tycho. Tycho is our little merchant buddy, but we can't buy anything yet. This room is where you select which act you want to play, though you do have to do them in order the first time round. Act 1 has way more stuff in it than you'd expect for the first one, though the first map is pretty simple. These guys are... You know, I gotta talk about something first. Probably the most polarizing part of this game is the lack of saving, but we'll get to that. But it's pretty obvious from looking at the game if you're gonna like this art style or not. You're an anime girl, and you can look down at any time and see ya boobies and a whole lot more. Some people aren't gonna like that, but you could just not look down. What you can't really ignore is the gore. Now, I don't mind gore, I'm not crazy about it, but good jibs can make a game feel way better than it actually is sometimes. Enemies in this game don't just explode into gibs, they explode into fleshy and cybernetic body parts, usually depending on where you shoot them and what you shoot them with. Cool, but you'll probably eventually notice everyone we're killing is like a cute anime girl or girlish boys. And like, we blow them up and see their intestines and their screaming, crying faces, the last painful faces they make before we violently murder them. I don't think most people mind gore, but when you combine it with these other kinds of visuals, why'd you do that? Why'd you do that? Tell me right now. Tell me why you did that.
Tell me right now.
I've been on the internet for
right now,
a long time, okay? I know why some people do that, and why do you do that? Tell me right now.
Tell me right now.
Why do they scream so long when you set them on fire? Tell me right now. Tell me right now why you did that. I found an article where the developer said they was getting harassed by people and stuff because of a video someone else made where they mentioned this aspect of the Citadel. They vehemently denied being a Guro artist, and I really don't want to contribute to any of the shit they get. If you're unaware, Guro is, extra spicy porn, if the spice was severed limbs. The things you'll see in this game are not Guro. Believe me, you know Guro when you see it. And seeing these little anime people crying while their torso lies next to them might be pretty disturbing to you, but it's not Guro. I can see how you might infer that, though, and if you can't handle what is basically just Doom-level gore, but with kawaii anime faces next to it, this might not be the game for you. And that would be a shame, because it's really good. Anyway, these cloaked figures are kind of like the imps of this game. They throw slow-moving projectiles that are pretty easy to dodge, but get more dangerous the more of them there are. Also, I can't tell what they're throwing. They look like bottles.
Bottles of beer. Hell yeah.
They're the small fry of the game, with the regular fry being these heavily armored motherfuckers with rifles. They take more shots and fire way quicker, though unlike, say, Doom, where the more dangerous enemies use hit-scan weapons, there are no hit-scan weapons in this game. And that includes yours. Well, okay, there's a laser that's basically hit-scan, but that's the only one I can think of. Every bullet is an actual entity in the game with a travel time. And the way this is done goes a long way in making the game feel as good as it does. Their speed is just about perfect to keep them satisfying to fire without feeling sluggish. You'll have to account for bullet drop and leading targets at a longer range, but most of the time when the game asks you to do that, it's to make later sections of the map easier by making the harder shots earlier. Another common enemy are these other cloaked figures that throw grenades at us, which we also get access to, by the way. They're slow moving and don't throw their grenades often, but get too close and they'll suicide bomb you. Now, I don't know why they're suicide bombers and look like this, okay? We're not going to talk about that. Fun thing with these guys, though, is if you get a headshot, you won't actually destroy their body, which will remain as basically an explosive barrel you can use against other enemies. This is the auto rifle and will be your bread and butter weapon. Good at basically all ranges and good against any non-armored enemy, you'll be hitting the 3 button a lot. Usually, 3 is the sacred number relegated to the shotgun, but you use the rifle more than the shotguns in this game, so I give it a pass. It is kind of slow to reload, but like I said before, you do have the ability by pressing R twice or just T to drop your current magazine and reload much quicker. Why you can't then just pick up the ammo you dropped like you do all the other ammo in the game, you ask? Well, bud, I think that's a question best left up to Jesus. There are these vending machines lying around, which is one of 2 places you'll spend money, the other being at Tycho. This one's for food, and yes, you do have to eat in this game. These 3 bars are, from left to right, health, stamina, and food. Health is how many times what you can be shot and not died. Stamina is how long you can sprint for, and food limits how high these can be. Food lowers over time, lowering both your current health and stamina if they're above it, and not letting you raise them above it for very long. It's a little out-of-place system and not very well explained. It's one of the things that made me call this game experimental. There's really no reason for this other than that the developer thought it'd be cool. And it's not like it gets in the way. It's just an odd quirk of the system and something else to spend money on. I never really had an issue with hunger once I understood what the fuck button to press to eat. The Citadel generally has 2 kinds of levels, open and closed, though even in this first one they're mixed and matched. Most of this level is fought on bridges, with enemies shooting at you from roofs, the top places. But we're able to go into some of these buildings ourselves and get to the top, having to clear them out in the process. Most levels have a ton of secrets where you can get extra health, money, or, of course, the ultimate secret of boomer shooteries, secret level entrances. I didn't find any secret levels in this playthrough, but I knowed they're there. You can't fucking hide anything from me, alright? One problem I do have with the exploration, however, is a lot of it is vertical and requires platforming over death pits. And it's not like Doom Eternal where they just hurt you and bring you back. No, you gotta start all over if you fall. The jumping is fine in regular gameplay, but it's just not precise enough for me to feel comfortable exploring these areas most of the time. We run into a big-ass dude, or I guess girl, maybe, who are, I think, really buggy enemies. You see, they're supposed to have flamethrowers and a lot of health. They're actually considered armored, I think, because they seem to take more damage from energy weapons and explosives. But you see, this one just kind of lets me kill them. That happens a lot, where they just don't fire at you. I don't know. You don't come across many, so it's not a huge problem, but it's weird. Also, I die here to these mounted chain gunners, so I guess I can talk about the save system. The Citadel has no quick save or manual save. Just an autosave, which it does at the start of a new level or when you get back to the entrance. Now, some people are gonna not play this game just because they heard that, and I can't blame you. A poor F5 button, man. She'd been rode hard. There is a way to respawn, however, System Shock style. There are these terminals you can activate in some levels that will respawn you at them if you die and you have an extra life, which are rare pickups you usually find in secret areas, though longer levels will just throw you a freebie sometimes. Other than that, though, it's back to the start with you should you perish. Question is, how much does the game benefit from this? I think not that much, but it also doesn't suffer because of it, as much as you'd think. Levels are generally short. You'll usually only have to replay a few minutes if you die, and, well, now you know where to go. I would keep this system in mind, but also not let it be the only reason for not checking this game out. The next level is one of my favorites, both because it's like a classic Doom level where you're searching around these close quarter areas looking for key cards that open up other areas, but also because you get the shotgun, and me likey shotguns. This one's called a blunderbuss, which it's not a blunderbuss at all, but I don't care because I like shooting it. Like everything else, it fires actual projectiles, though in a nice spread that makes hitting something with all of them feel really fucking good. The alternative fire has you load in a slug round, which is more accurate and does more damage, but obviously you have to load it in first and you only get one shot. You see, I know this room. I get what you're doing. I get the picture. One way I actually like the no continues thing is in maps like this where you can go slower, peek around corners, and use your minimap. In fact, the minimap is really the reason the save system works in this game. You can see most everything on it, or at least you know something is in a room, and know to expect trouble. There are some monster closets, but you know where they're going to come from. And I never really felt like I had an unfair death in this game, bar platforming in some later level. The Magnums Alt-Fire lets you put a grenade on it and fire it a longer distance than you can throw them. Pretty cool, and the fact that it also makes the grenade explode on impact means I use this way more than actual Giga nerds. In the next map, we find the chain gun, which is awesome, but really only finds its use in later levels. It has two fire modes, fast and slow, though both are pretty fast. It's just the slower does less DPS, but is more accurate. It chews through ammo, but you'll appreciate it when it is useful. Oh, it also has a flamethrower on it. It's actually a really good one, which is often not the case for these kinds of shooters. This level ends with a fight against a tank with a lot of health. You can relatively safely lob Gagnars on top of it, but if you go around here, you'll find some one-shot RPGs that really help against vehicular enemies like this. Also, stuff blows up good in this game, like Big Boom Pow, Happy Baby, Happy Baby. Next is the boss of this episode. Thankfully, most bosses have their own level, so if you die to them, you don't have to go do an entire map again. You'll usually also find some supplies and Tycho before a fight. You can buy stuff from Tycho in this flash game-ass style menu, ranging from ammo and health to upgrades to your weapons and any weapons you might have missed. His stock grows as the game goes on. His upgrades are interesting, another one of those experimental features I think, because most aren't terribly useful, but more of a neat thing your weapon can do now. Like, you can get a burst fire setting for your Magnum, which I found to be completely useless, but it's cool. It's cool that it's there. The boss of the first act is a giant cybernetic brain named Vectra, surrounded by turrets. This is actually, in my opinion, the hardest boss in the game, which is why I cheesed the fuck out of it by standing on the platform before the boss room. It fires the same large bullets the turrets do, firing at a rotating pattern that gets significantly faster as their health drops. It's basically a bullet hell, but I just couldn't find a way to not get hit by dropping into the boss room itself, so yeah, just stay up here and you're good. Oh, also the auto rifle has an alternative fire where it shoots a laser. Is that laser I mentioned before? It's good against armored stuffs.
That's not the kind of brain I was looking for.
That's what John Citadel would say. He makes funny innuendos like that. You get significant upgrades at the end of episodes, this one being the power to ledge climb. With that, we're back at the entrance, and I suppose where we'll end the, quote-unquote review part of this stupid fucking video. For graphics, I'm going to give the Citadel a Spitchy. The environments can get really repetitive. Every map uses the same general tile sets, though it is a testament to the level design that I can still remember specific maps despite that. Everything else is great. You might have an issue with all the gore stuff I mentioned earlier, but this game has great sprite work and better animations. And thighs. I'm going to have to say the audio for the Citadel is Spitchy. Guns sound good, which is the most important, but all the music is royalty-free stuff you'll hear in other stuff, so I don't know how much credit I can give the developer there. Still, they did make good choices with these. Most of them fit and give a good atmosphere. Gameplay is a standout, roaring Spitchy. You play this game to play it, because it's very fun. If you like shooters of any kind, but especially the fast-paced resurgence of Doom clones, this is a phenomenal game that deserves to be up there with Dusk and Ion Fury in my opinion. Story is really the only place this game doesn't excel in, so I'm going to have to give it a Spitchy. There just isn't much of it, and it definitely feels more a style over substance kind of deal. But no one's really going to play this game for the story, it's more about being an anime girl with superb shooting mechanics. The overall grade for the Citadel is Spitchy. Highly recommended. Now, everything else in this video is going to be spoilers, insofar as you can spoil a game with basically no story. There's no timestamp to skip to. From here on to the end of the video, I'm just going to quickly recap things I found interesting in the rest of the game. So, if you'd like to find these out yourself, check the links in the description. Act 2 starts with this really fun level, kind of like the city level from the first one, but without any hand-holding. No hand-holding, looks like a tank on a bridge, by the way. The SMG is strange. We get to dual-wield 2 of them eventually, and it gets a bit more use there, but alone it's just like a worse auto rifle. Less range, a bit more damage up close, but the reload is fucking awful. Even dropping the magazine doesn't help much. When you dual-wield them, I think they're the highest DPS weapons, but the reload is even more egregious. Like, look at this. You run out of ammo quick, so I really only use them by emptying a magazine in a fight and just not switching back until after it. You can find Tycho randomly in hidden areas of some maps, and if there is a secret, like story or ending to this game that I didn't find, it's probably through him. He didn't say anything here, but sometimes he'll give you some mysterious lore. At the end, you have to fight this big mech. These are often used as a big bad in a map. They're tough to take down if you don't have any explosives, but thankfully nearly every time they show up, it's in a place where you can duck and jive, leaning around corners to get shots off between their fire, and retreating when they get too close. One of the strongest aspects of this game is the level design, actually. I don't know, but the developer was probably like a Doomwad creator or something, that's what it feels like. The next level has a lot of vents, another reason to be very thankful for the detailed minimap. It's also the first time we see these slime things. I think they're like some part of whatever makes up ourselves and all the humanoid enemies we fight. When you burn an enemy to death, they have a similar look to their skulls as these slimes. Anyway, they're fairly harmless, only becoming a problem in larger numbers later on, but we get a flamethrower, so. We also run into robot enemies, and they're probably the most dangerous. Their projectiles are a bit slower, but much bigger than regular bullets and pack a wallop. Priority numero uno in most fights. There's a switch puzzle and a tough fight at the end of this level, but your reward is you become the demons. Unfortunately, we can't take the mech with us, though we do get the whale gun, which is the sniper rifle. I don't know why they call it a whale gun. It's a high-powered, long-range option, obviously, though it's kind of finicky until we unlock the ability to hold our breath later on. Yeah, we gotta learn how to do that. It's hard, okay? The boss of this act is this, though it's more of a fight against the regular enemies in the arena because you can just stand at these steps and she won't shoot at you or nothing. For some reason, enemy body parts tend to skate along the floor at you. I don't know why, but it adds to the creepy atmosphere. Our reward is the ability to enter slow-mo when using the stamina replenishment item when we're at max stamina. Another experimental feature, because I don't think I literally ever used it. Back at the entrance, Lysander congratulates us on freeing 2 angels, and says that the relic is nearly complete. And then, well, Tycho tells us Celeste, the lady we just killed, was a brilliant mind, and that he knew someone who donated their brain to her, and how it's a pity they're gone now too. This isn't a happy game if you haven't caught on to it yet. This episode starts off with probably my favorite level in the game. It's this non-stop shootout in a city where you have to mind your corners and windows, all while this banging song plays. Unfortunately, the follow-up is probably my least favorite level. It's a closed-in maze, which is fine, except that there are robots that fire at you from above the entire time, and it's annoyinger than hell. Like, look at all that. Most of that ain't on your level. The rest is fine, though, except for this part, where you're supposed to find another mech to fly up to these platforms. But I didn't find the mech the first time, and used the ladders and killed everyone, only to get to the top, where I couldn't jump myself and fell and died and had to start all over. Why put the ladders there if I wasn't supposed to use them? This boss is one of the better ones because he's like an actual threat in addition to his minions. The boss battles really aren't the strong point of this game, but really what FPS does have good boss fights. Name me one damn FPS that has good boss fights. No, Ultra Kill doesn't count. Yay! Our reward is double ammo capacity, which isn't flashy, but appreciated greatly. Lysander's not doing too good. This is where the game stops playing and tries to actually kill you, though you also have more than enough tools to stop that from happening. Like these satchel charges that basically trivialize any big mech or vehicle enemies. The reason is you can throw like 10 in a single second and detonate them all at once. Though the game does have a countermeasure for this, in that it'll crash if you do that. That boy horny as hell. These big hunched fuckers are the hardest enemies in the game. Lots of armor, lots of health, and fire the energy bullets usually reserved for turrets and robots. Save your laser ammo for them. The levels start to get much longer here as well, which is good because it's testing you more, and bad because if you fail, you gotta replay a lot more. Though it's worth noting, I died way more on earlier missions than later ones, despite them being much harder. I take that as a sign that the game is good at teaching you how to play it. Well, it's not. It actually obfuscates most of its mechanics, but at least the level design is very good at guiding you. This level has a different floor than the others. That's cool. It's kind of like you're traversing a battlefield, except it's just you versus the other guys. And at the end, you get another satisfying mech segment. The next level has a strange start, where you're just put in a room with no obvious exits. You have to shoot or blow up this corner of the wall that doesn't look any different, and you've never had to do this before and never will again. It's weird. To follow that up is the level I died the most in. It's a good level, but all the fucking lava can spitch my asshole. I died literally 2 steps from the pattern buffer, the thing that lets you respawn once. That was fun. I had a lot of fucking fun with that one. The boss is Lysander. Yeah, he was being taken control of by the Sleepy God, if you didn't catch that. He's pretty tough until you clear out the room and you can just circle strafe him. Good night, sweet prince. Lysander's last gift to us is the ability to not only hold our breath, making the whale gun more accurate, but the ability to reload and shoot while sprinting, which is by far the best upgrade in the game. Tycho laments the death of Lysander, even telling us to leave him away for a while. Yeah, I don't think English is the developer's first language, so I don't hold the mistranslations against the game. You can get the gist of what's being said.
Blood and thunder.
Oh, you eating good in Act 5, boy. Pretty much all just good FPS levelry that tests what you've learned in the game so far. Except for one near the end. Because of the fucking lava. Don't look at me like that. This is kind of like a horror level. There's all these slimes and warlocks. I don't know if they're called warlocks, but they look like warlocks to me. You have to shoot most of the walls here to proceed, though they're actually indicated as destructible this time. I tried to go through most of it with the shotgun, but this is really where the chain gun's flamethrower starts to shine. This is the level that kind of sucks, and it's not actually because of the lava, it's because it's so damn big. It involves hitting switches that lower big-ass doors that you can't see being lowered. I hate that shit. If I press a switch, just show me what the switch does. I don't have any object permanence, I can't tell what different. The boss is robot anime girl Jesus surrounded by lava. I don't really know what you're supposed to do in this fight other than just shoot and hope you don't get hit too much. Our reward is a concussive grenade for the shock hammer, a weapon you can buy from Tycho I don't have yet. Also, it kinda sucks. Nothing happens at the entrance this time. Act 6 is the last full act, because Act 7 is really just one level, and it feels like it. It really does take place mostly in a void, so there's always the issue of falling into said void and dying, though it's better than the lava. These creepy statues start showing up a lot more here. I think they're more related to whatever the Citadel is than the Sleepy God. This is a cool map. You go through this kind of laboratory area, so there's a lot of glass to break, which is fun. I don't know how they got a tank in here, though. I buy 2 new weapons from Tycho here, and both are upgrades of other weapons. The Zeus cannon is like the Magnum, but reloads all its bullets at once and has a powerful as fuck Alt-Fire. The other is the shock hammer, the thing we unlocked the impact grenade for. And to be clear, the impact grenade sucks, not the shock hammer. It's an auto shotgun. I feel like the blunderbuss does more damage per shot, but the shock hammer fires way quicker. Also, look! I remembered how to kick, and also found out kicking vending machines will give you the item for free, though you won't be able to buy more. Did you see that? This level's pretty cool too. It's just basically go up, and hope that the bad guys don't kill you too much, but in a really fun way. This is so well done, but so creepy. That's an asshole move. That's like the one asshole move in this entire game, but it is an asshole move. They really stock you up for this boss fight, which is fair because it's kind of a tricky one. I call them the Grand Wizard, and you have to fight them on this small platform with smaller platforms around. They throw out the typical boss projectiles, but also fling granadas everywhere, so it can get kinda hectic. The level doesn't end right after defeating them though, as we're shown these little fetus babies in tubes. Notably, these are organic because they explode into fleshy bits. Our upgrade doubles the amount of ammo we receive from pickups, which is great, but only going to be used on one level and in New Game Plus. Nothing happens at the entrance, which is kind of strange because the next act is the domain of Delirium and the Sleepy God. Instead of the normal act title screen, we're spoken to. This mysterious voice says we still have more things to do in order to fulfill our mandate. That relic Lysander mentioned to us, well, we never got it. It's called the Fruit of the Ephemeral. Also, they explicitly call what's happening to everyone rampancy, in case you wanted more marathon representation. They've given the relic to whom we knows, and we're to use it to destroy the Sleepy God. Act 7 is really just one final gauntlet of a level, and, I think this is our mother and father. Let's keep going. This map is actually very short, just being a room with a lot of enemies in it. The hardest part is here, where you're sandwiched between two groups of enemies, one being a big-ass tank. The tank shoots at you from above while a ton of bottle-throwing dudes rush you. The tank should be your priority, but it's hard because there are a lot of those motherfuckers. Eventually you make it to a teleporter that puts you in Flesh Pit. What the fuck? What the fuck? Looks pretty fucking awake to me. So you can't do anything to the Sleepy God, but if you turn around you find Tycho with a nuke. Tycho, however, has other plans. He says he thought we were here to protect all the lords and angels, but clearly we haven't been doing that. Says he tried to put Lysander back together, but he was so mangled there wasn't anything left. He implores us to let the Sleepy God awake, because we don't know for sure if it's evil. That it didn't know it was making everyone insane because him was sweeping. As far as I know, and that I've been able to find out, there's only two options here. Detonate the nuke, or jump off into the void and die. Either way, you receive the same final screen. But some say that if you wait for 69 weeks and open up your save here at 3 a.m., the Sleepy God wakes up and sucks your dick.